Levon Cade works in construction. He shows up before anyone else, keeps the site running, and motivates the men around him with the kind of quiet authority that does not need to announce itself. The owners of the site, Joe and Carla Garcia, treat Levon like family. Their daughter Jenny treats him the same way. Nothing is hidden from him in that office. Jenny tells her father she passed her first semester and wants to throw a party for her classmates. She asks her parents for money, but they aren't willing. Levon is there, listening without making a point of it. Outside, a black car pulls up. Several men step out and immediately begin beating one of the workers on the ground. Levon picks up a bucket of nails, walks over, and tells them to stop. They turn on him instead. What follows is brief and thorough. Levon works through the group one by one with the kind of efficiency that makes it obvious this is not the first time he has done something like this. By the end, he is pointing a gun at the last man standing. They scatter. Levon asks the worker to get back to work. Jenny saw everything from the window. She comes to find him afterward and tells him she knows what he is. She says only someone trained as a commando moves the way he moved out there. Levon tells her she did not see anything. Jenny says she will keep the secret and adds that her grandfather was a fighter too, and that she wants to train herself. She brings him food from home, puts it in front of him, and asks him to promise that he will always protect her. Levon promises. Jenny leaves, and the promise sits with him in a way that is hard to put down. Levon is a single father. His wife died by suicide some years ago, and the custody of his daughter, Mary, was awarded to her grandfather, a man named Roth, who has money and has used it to make sure things stay that way. Roth arranged a party that day when Levon came to visit, filling the house with people so Levon could not take Mary anywhere private. He accused Levon of being the reason his wife died and of being mentally unfit because of his history with the Marines. Mary herself is not fooled by any of it. When Levon visits and she sees him waiting while the party goes on around her, she tells him she was not going to eat until he arrived because she wanted them to eat together. Levon gives her a photograph in a frame, a picture of Mary with her mother. Mary says she is angry at her mother for leaving them. Levon tells her not to talk that way. Levon's lawyer tells him that in court, Roth's lawyers produced documentation of Levon's PTSD diagnosis and his living situation, pointing out that he sleeps in his car. Levon's own lawyer tells him plainly that the case is getting weaker by the week and that Roth has bought enough goodwill in the right places to make the outcome nearly certain. Levon gives the lawyer money and tells him to keep trying. He drives home afterward to a car that is also a bedroom and looks at a small house he has been thinking about renting, a place so run down that seeing it in person makes clear exactly how stretched his finances are. He keeps moving forward anyway. Jenny goes to a party with her classmates that same week. The bartender notices her early and sends a message to someone outside. Two people named Viper and Artemis have been running an operation out of that venue for some time, identifying women at bars and clubs and delivering them to wealthy clients. Jenny steps out of the bathroom and they take her. She is gone within minutes, and nobody at the party realizes it until well after the car has left. 2 days pass. Joe calls Levon into the office and closes the door. He and Carla both look like they have not slept. Joe explains that Jenny has been missing and that the police have shown no urgency. He puts money on the desk and tells Levon he knows about his background and that he needs him to find his daughter. Levon tells him he does not want the money and that he left that life behind. Joe and Carla both try to reach him. Levon walks out. He drives into the forest to a house where a man named Ghani Lefty lives alone. Ghani is blind, but he and Levon serve together as commandos, and there is nothing about Levon that Ghani cannot read without seeing him. Levon tells him everything about Jenny, about the promise he made her, about the fact that she trusted him. Ghani listens, then tells him he does not need anyone's permission to do what he already knows he will do. Levon goes back to Joe's house. Joe is locked in a room by himself, sitting with a video of Jenny playing piano. Levon opens the door and tells him he no longer needs to worry. He says Jenny is like his own daughter and that the Garcia family is his family. He promised Joe that he would bring Jenny home. The last confirmed sighting of Jenny was at the bar. Levon goes there and watches for a while before his eyes settle on the bartender, who is passing drugs to customers on the side for small amounts of cash. He waits until the man goes home for the night, follows him inside, and puts a gun to his face. The bartender asks if he is a cop. Levon says he would be lucky if that were the case. He shows him a photograph of Jenny and asks where she is. The bartender says he has no idea that girls come through the bar every night, and he cannot track all of them. Levon drags him to the bathtub, folds his face with a cap, and turns on the water. While this is happening, two more men enter the house with weapons. The bartender shouts to alert them. Levon uses the bartender as cover, and the bartender takes the first bullets. He puts down the two armed men in sequence, takes their cash, and walks out. Their employer shows up the next morning, a Russian mobster named Olo, who runs a significant portion of the city's underworld infrastructure. Olo arrives at the scene, reads the situation correctly, and tells his people to find whoever did this. Levon has been watching from outside. He follows Olo's car back to his house and observes from a distance until an opportunity presents itself. When Olo's wife storms out after an argument, Levon goes in through the back. He knocks Olo unconscious, ties him to a chair with a rope rigged over the swimming pool, and waits for him to wake up. If the rope is cut, both the chair and Olo go into the water with his hands bound behind him. Olo warns him. Levon throws the stolen cash into the pool and tells Olo he is not a thief and has no interest in the money. He shows him the photograph of Jenny. Olo responds with a stream of Russian curses and the repeated mention of a name, Dimi. He tells Levon he has no idea what he has walked into and that his entire bloodline is finished. Levon cuts the rope. Olo drowns. Olo's older brother, Simon, runs the wider organization. He arrives, sees what has been done to his brother, and calls his two sons to him. He tells them he wants the man responsible brought back dead. While Simon's people begin searching, Levon follows his only remaining lead. He contacts a source inside the DEA and asks about Dimi. The contact cannot share details directly, but gives him a location. Levon goes there and finds a bar where a woman named Artemis is quietly scanning every person who enters. She spots that Levon is armed and sends a man named Doggy over to assess him. Levon pulls out a thick roll of cash and says he wants to meet the boss. Doggy takes him to a man called Dutch. Dutch is immediately dismissive and calls his men into the room. Levon beats all of them, steadily and without particular anger, breaking ribs as he goes. Dutch stops the fight. He assumes Levon is from military service and understands that this man is not a random intruder. He asks what Levon wants. Levon says he wants to do business. Dutch tells him to come to breakfast. At breakfast the next day, Dutch is not there. Artemis and Doggy hand over a small phone and tell Levon he will receive further instructions through it. On the drive back, Dutch calls and tells him there is a package under the seat. Levon removes the drugs from under the seat and drops them into a drain. Dutch calls him if he wants access to bigger operations. He should buy a proper suit, because tonight he will be introduced to someone important. The introduction that evening is to Dimi, who is Olo's son and a key figure in the network that took Jenny. Dimi takes Levon's identification and photographs it before handing over a quantity of drugs as a demonstration of trust. Levon flushes everything down the bathroom drain at the venue before he leaves. Back home, he goes through the photographs he has collected from outside the locations he has been monitoring and finds Viper in the background of multiple images, always watching Jenny in every frame he appears in. He traces Viper to the same club where Dutch operates and goes there to wait. Artemis spots him and alerts her people. Levon understands what is happening and gets onto a motorcycle. A chase through the streets ends when his bike collides with a police car. A female officer approaches, but she is on Simon's payroll. Simon's two sons arrive, pay her, and load Levon into a van. When he regains consciousness inside the moving vehicle, Levon beats both sons and the driver and sends the van into the water. Simon receives the news that his sons are dead, alongside his brother, and breaks completely. He tells everyone around him that Levon will be made to suffer before he dies. Levon, along with his daughter, goes to his blind friend to stay until things cool down. Meanwhile, Dimi summons Viper and Artemis and beats Viper. One of their best clients had his face bitten and marked by Jenny, who was supposed to be unconscious during the transaction, and this is unacceptable. He orders them to kill her. Jenny, who has been fighting back throughout her captivity, causes a crash when the car transporting her goes off the road. She runs until she reaches a road and flags down a police car. The officers take her statement and drive her away. She realizes too late that they are delivering her back to Viper. They throw her into the water at gunpoint. The client calls again to have Jenny returned alive because he wants the satisfaction of doing things his own way before they fire, and Viper pulls her back out, $1 million being sufficient motivation. Levon arrives at Demi's facility and moves through it from the outside in, killing everyone who comes at him and working his way toward the center. Demi uses a woman as a human shield when Levon reaches him. Levon shoots Demi's hand, tells the woman to take the cash in the room and build a different life. He loads Demi into a car to drive to Viper's location. On the road, Demi asks Levon why he does any of this. Levon doesn't answer. Levon stops the car and asks him why they chose her. He replied that they show the girl to the client, and he selects. Levon threw him into the water and shot him. The client is already at Viper's farmhouse with his tools arranged when Levon comes through the door. Levon kills every man in the room before working his way downstairs. The client is the last one he reaches. He does not take long. Viper opens fire and a sustained fight breaks out in the corridors. Jenny, still with her hands bound, uses her legs to pin Artemis to the ground and strangles her while the fight continues around her. Viper runs out of ammunition at the wrong moment, and Levon puts him down. He cuts Jenny free, and they move out together toward a motorcycle. Two men sent by the High Table, the organization above Simon's operation, are already outside and have shot the corrupt officers waiting there. They see Levon and engage. Levon puts down the first one with a precision shot from a high-powered weapon he brought from Ghani's armory and kills the second with a grenade. He gets Jenny onto the motorcycle and they leave. Simon watches them go and calls the High Table to demand support. The table's representative tells him the man's intentions were limited to recovering the girl, that he poses no further threat, and that the table considers the matter closed. When Simon demands to know about his revenge, the representative tells him the table has no involvement in personal grievances and ends the call. Simon shouts alone in the room. Levon returns Jenny to her family. Joe and Carla hold their daughter and cannot find words for what they feel. He does not stay long. He goes to Ghani's house where Mary is waiting. She sees him come through the door and hugs him. They sit down and eat together, and for a time, the world outside does not reach them.